Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Noobs to Pros. In today's episode we'll be looking at the AMX 5100 and a couple of games that I've recently played in this tank. Now I'll be honest, I have not had the best luck with the AMX 5100. This tank has been kind of like a mystery to me, and I've been sort of like trying to figure out how to play this tank. My efficiency in this tank is really bad, and I think it's because I don't really understand what the tank actually demands. It's a tank that you have to play a lot of to kind of get better at, and I'm definitely nowhere close to how good I need to be with this tank. Now as this match starts off, I'm trying to go towards that ridge in the distance and try to control that ridge, just because if the enemy tanks advance and it's up the middle of the map, then if you have control over the ridge you can shoot into their sides and cause a lot of damage and confusion, and consequently split their fire. And so it turns out to be a very good decision, just because a lot of the enemy tanks are pretty slow, and I'm thinking to myself as I'm sort of climbing up the ridge that I should have no contest, because either the first couple of tanks that can make it over here would be a couple of scouts, and since they have no scouts, so I'm not expecting a lot of tanks to be here. Now as I turn over this corner and I start looking down into the sort of the valley area in which most of the tanks I expect to see are there, I'm surprised that it seems like majority of their tanks were trying to push that area. Now I am lucky that I had a better team and not everybody just charged up the middle in order to meet those tanks. Generally, if you're in an American heavy tank, even the medium tank, you could maybe come over that ridge and cause them a lot of damage. The ridge in the middle where they're actually fighting, where we just lost their first tank. But generally, if you have a quick tank, you want to flank people and come. Now, I take a shot in the side of an IS-3 and a shot in a 332 just to make them know that, there's people over here too you have to worry about. I didn't necessarily want to take out a specific tank right now, just because they were so come together. And so now, since I know the IS-3 is actually looking this way, I back off, and the IS-3 takes a shot at VK4502. And so I go back to, working this side again. I know the IS-3 has fired, and he's probably on his reload, so I take another cheeky shot at the IS-3, hoping to do some damage, but it doesn't connect, and so I back off. Now the VK takes a shot at somebody down there. He does some damage because I see the red number pop up in the distance, so I don't know who he actually took a shot against. So I'm thinking right now that the IS-3 has actually fired, and I think he might have, and he just backed off. And as I come over this corner, I actually don't see the Tiger is actually looking at me, and I'm just surprised that I took that shot. So I know the Tiger has a 7-second reload because I actually own that tank. So I take a couple of shots into the side of the T-29, which is standing there, and I go back on reload. And now this is an important thing to kind of realize when you're running the AMX 5100. You have to tell your teammates that you're on a reload, because sometimes they might be expecting you to come with them to go around a corner to actually help them, whereas you just don't have any shells, to use. Now I see them sort of doing what I was doing, taking shots at the tank below. And so instead of charging in front of them, I cut behind the VK, use him as a shield. So because he can actually bounce a shot, but I very rarely bounce a shot in this tank. Even though I have a shot here at the Tiger, I don't take it because I might accidentally hit either the VK or the AMX 45 in front of me. So I just wait patiently until I get my shot and I finish on my Tiger. This is my first kill in the game. Now I move forward and I see the T-29 has sort of overextended. He doesn't realize that he's perhaps one of the few tanks that are left on that bridge. And so I climb to a higher position where I can actually look down and take shots in the T-29. As soon as I fire at the T-29, the T-29 starts backing off, and I don't get my rest of the shots in. And I look, and there's an AT-15 down there who was looking in my general direction. I don't want to be exchanging fire with an AT-15 at this range, because I will not penetrate him, but he will not have any problem penetrating most of my tank. So I take the remaining couple of shots at the T-29, hoping to do some damage, and so I start going back through my reload process and, you know, back off. Now at this moment, I have seen the T25-2 tangling with one of our tigers, and you know, I'm going back trying to support him, but I don't know what the tiger was doing. He lost way too much health to the T25-2. I wanted to say to the tiger, hold on, I'm, you know, coming, just don't over-engage. But he over-engaged with the T25, got a little aggressive, and we lose our tiger over here. And so I take a shot at the T25-2 that's coming out of this little village. I aim for his lower plate. I know it's very thin, so no matter where I hit it, it's gonna penetrate. I shoot twice and finish him off. And now, instead of reloading, I am just hanging around here trying to figure out what my next move is. Now, I see on the map that the AT-15 is there by the ridge. I also see a T-34. I'm wondering whether that T-34 is by itself. That's to my right. And for a second, when I come off this ridge, I will think whether I should go in and, you know, tangle with the T-34. But I actually decide not to, just because in a few seconds, I noticed there's an ISU-152 to my left. Now I'm here, I'm thinking, but I think the T-34 is quite a good range, and by the time I get over the hill and actually make a couple of shots, I don't think I'll do enough damage to kill him as quickly as I want. So, but I know the ISU is by himself, so I can maybe take out the ISU if I get behind him or on his side. And, you know, the IS-3 is kind of like spotting for me, so I don't know whether the ISU just fired or not, but he took some sort of damage. And so I come behind the ISU, who I don't think was expecting a tank behind him. And so I put 3 shots into him and finish him off. I only have 1 shot, and so I kind of like decide that there's no point in my going against any person with just 1 shot in my magazine. So I'll actually reload at the moment. And now I'm gonna go and, you know, deal with these 2 tanks. And these are the only tanks sort of like left on the map right now. Here I'm thinking whether I should go all around and deal with the M26 and the T-34 by flanking them outright. But here I noticed that the T-34, you know, is just going, and he doesn't seem to realize that there's tanks to his left, or there's nobody watching his left. And here I fire on the move and miss completely, and I just get a miracle bounce from the T-34. I don't even know what part of my tank actually bounced that shot. And here, you know, I'm thinking whether I should, you know, take a shot at the T-34, but I don't, just because, you know, the angle's weird and I'm thinking it's gonna bounce. So I decide to go behind him and sort of like take my shots from there. Here I, you know, shoot at the M26 Pershing, who is dealing with our M26 Pershing, and, you know, fire all 3 shots and, you know, reduce his health to about maybe 200 plus health. Anything could finish him off right now. And before I have time to reload, the Tiger will come around the corner, finish the T-34 off, and our M26 will jump down from that cliff and finish off the other M26. And this was my first really decent game in which I kind of like figured out to some extent how to play the AMX5100. And the thing that I realized is that you have to play AMX5100 almost as a sniper in the beginning of the match, and then sort of like play it as an assassin. Now this is a very interesting game. This is one of my best games I've had in the AMX5100 by far. And I just got the best gun on the AMX5100, which is 223 penetration and about 300 damage. So I can do about 1800 points of damage to 1 tank on average. But here's the bad part, or the bad side about this gun. It has a 47-second reload compared to a 5-second reload on the other gun. And I will not spoil the end of the match for you, but I wind up, you know, sort of like not carrying the game, but I do influence it quite significantly. Now I'm trying to figure out where should I go. I mean, I don't want to go into the city because generally the heavies wind up there, and I don't want to be exchanging shots against 2 or 3 heavies in the AMX5100, just because even though I'll be able to do a lot of damage, you know, I don't want a good game. I want a great game in this tank. So I think left side needs a little more backup, and that's where I'm gonna go. It was very nice to be top tier in this game. There's another game I played before that in which like I played pretty well, but we wound up losing that game anyways. But that was a tier 9 game. In the tier 8 game, this tank is just amazing. It can damage tanks so heavily that it's very hard to sort of like out damage this tank. If you have a really long reload, you know, it's best not to tangle with this tank, just because, like, let's say for example, you know, and actually you'll see an example in a few months. Over here I take a shot at the T-32 who was our Pershing just went up against. And the reason for that was I just wanted him to back off from the M26 Pershing. I didn't want him to sort of like engage our M26. M26 would have taken a lot of damage against the T-32 front plate. So here the M26 takes a shot at the KB4, who's advancing up the middle. And now I'm trying to wonder where should I go. And I'm thinking maybe I should outflank him. Now I'm thinking to myself the T-32 might have backed off, but no, he's there. So he takes a shot at me. And now I know that I have the damage to sort of like kill him outrightly. So I put all out of the remaining 4 shots into him and kill him off and take 2 hits from him, which is, I guess, a fair trade. I exchanged I exchanged the tier 8 tank for 2 shots of damage. Now here's where I get extremely lucky. Now they're losing this game, so I know I can't influence the battle behind me. And so I come up into this train tracks, and somehow the IS-3 in front of me doesn't notice, or the KV-4 behind me doesn't notice where I was going, or they just don't care and they just keep rushing in that direction. Now I'm reloading and I cannot do anything for another 45 to 47 seconds. Now I'm just waiting here trying to figure out what is the best strategy for me. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. I know that the tanks behind me have basically just left me alone. So I know if there's any tanks who I'm gonna face, they're gonna be over here, or in this direction. So I see the Tiger pass and the KV-4 pass and the AT-15 pass, and then I take a damaging hit from the KV-1S. Now here's why you don't want to deal with an AMX 5100 when you have a long reload. The KV-1S doesn't even get a chance to fire again before I finish him off. So basically I do 810 points of damage to him without him firing at me again. So you never want to deal with an AMX 5100 by yourself. He can probably, if he knows what he's doing, he can probably destroy your tank, even as high as a tier 9 tank, without actually having to reload. And so the AT-15, you know, does damage me, but I sort of like back away, break contact, and I jump over to the other side of the train tracks and take out the Tiger P, who was dealing with one of our tanks. Again on the 47-second reload, and we have pulled this scores back to some extent. Now I know that the people that I saw like moving across the train tracks are now in the city, but I can't really do anything. This Cromwell has the right idea. He starts taking pot shots at the Jag Panther in the distance, but the Jag Panther only has to put 1 shot into the Cromwell to finish him off. Now I am just waiting for my reload to get over so I can deal with this Jag Panther. I'm just poking forward, making sure that he doesn't see me. Actually, the Jag Panther is so locked into what he's doing that he actually never notices that I'm just sitting over here. And I take 1 shot and finish him off. Now I see the AT-15 and the Hellcat pop up, and you know, thank God our heavies take care of their KV-4 because it would have been a closer match otherwise. Now I know that the KV-4 even has been taken out, and the only remaining threat is the AT-15 because frontally it's very well armored, and so I go to its flank and put 3 shots into him to finish him off. After I finish the AT-15 off, I just go straight forward and I spot the Hellcat. And it only takes the remaining 2 shots to finish him off. giving me the Top Gun, the first ever Top Gun I had in the AMX 5100. I hope you guys enjoyed these replays. I hope to post more as sort of like time goes on. If you have any comment, feedback, you know, please leave it in the comment section below. Or if you have any suggestions, you know, something that can help me improve my play with the AMX 5100, I would more than welcome it. But anyways, folks, thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you soon.